Last year, I found myself in need of a new phone after my Pixel 3 died, about a week after the Pixel 6 was announced. So no coincidences there. And after much careful consideration, it came down to a choice between the iPhone 13 Pro and the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III. Now I opted for the latter, and sometimes I regret it. Having an iPhone for everyday use makes a lot of sense. You can have pretty much every app you could ever dream of. If you've got any other Apple products, they'll work seamlessly together. And most tech reviewers will agree that for just taking quick, high quality, professional looking photos, there isn't really anything better on the market. Now, I have to say, this phone for everyday use is pretty great. There are some features here that I really like. Coming from the Pixel 3, which had the ability to press on the sides of the phone to launch the Google Assistant, being able to, on this, have a dedicated button to press comes in handy. Although I have found on occasion that I've mistaken it for the shutter button when trying to take a photo. With regards to the form factor, having a screen with a 21:9 aspect ratio is great for viewing content that is 21:9. For everything else, it's a little bit odd. Now for some apps like viewing Instagram Reels or just browsing the web, I actually really like it and even prefer it because you can view so much all at one time. But for everyday use, it's a little bit uncomfortable, especially to carry around. I find if you've got it, for example, in your front pocket, then it's difficult to walk properly, and if you've got it in your back pocket, then you're always worried about it falling out. So I've tended to, over the winter, carrying it in my coat pocket if I'm out and about. So I'm imagining that will become something of an issue in the summer. Now, I personally found the phone quite difficult to hold before I bought a case for it. Because it's big and smooth, it kept on slipping out of my grasp. And also because it's big, I kept on accidentally knocking it on various surfaces as I was using it. So I ended up buying a relatively cheap case from Case Logic, which has made the phone much more usable. It's actually nicer to hold the phone, it protects it well, and it actually makes using things like the fingerprint reader, which then has a decent sized indent, that makes it a lot more usable. Now the case has not held up that well over the last few months, so it's the kind of thing I imagine I will replace a few times over the life of the phone. Now, on the subject of the fingerprint reader, this has been something that's actually disappointed me. It does work, and I think it probably works as well as most other fingerprint readers out there. But coming from my Pixel 3, which had a dedicated fingerprint reader on the back of the phone, I found that a lot more accurate, and I liked the fact that it was separate from the power button. I liked being able to click the power button to quickly check on any notifications on the lock screen without having to think about unlocking the phone at the same time. And you also used to be able to do things like have gestures on the fingerprint reader itself if you wanted to swipe down and turn off your Wi-Fi or your Bluetooth or anything like that. Those features were handy. So combining the power button and the fingerprint reader, in my mind, doesn't make much sense, and I can see why a number of vendors have chosen to put the fingerprint reader underneath the screen itself, just to keep those two functions separate. With that said, the reason I went for this phone over an iPhone or another Android flagship was because of the quite niche capabilities and features that this phone has, particularly those that are found in its Cinematography Pro and Photography Pro apps. And simply put, if you want the experience of using a professional camera on a phone that you can carry around every day, then this is probably as good as it gets. There have been some complaints about the camera app's UI, and I can understand those. Switching modes in particular is quite slow and clunky, and I don't understand why they didn't just copy switching shutter speeds, which is very usable, into the way that you would change modes or even change lenses. But it does take great raw photos that you can really do some good work with, and I've certainly found that for me, I very quickly replaced taking any cameras out with up to 150mm lenses for just point and shoot situations. this is far more useful as the lens goes up to 120 mils. For learning the art of composition, the speed at which you can change your focal lengths, switching between the 24 mils, the 70 and then the 120, and being able to take a photo, review it on a great screen, go back, change a few settings, take another photo, that whole process is ideal for learning the tricks of the trade. That's something I expect to get more value from, and it's a big reason why I went for this phone, because of the way it works with Sony's professional alpha cameras. So not only will it act as other phones can do via an app as a bridge to professional alpha cameras, but it can also act as an external monitor, assuming you have a Sony alpha camera that has a USB-C output. So when you consider the cost of buying an external monitor for your Sony camera, and here you get a phone, it kind of reminds me of the whole Steve Jobs introduction of the iPhone. When he said iPod, internet connected device and phone. Well, here you're getting all the features of a high-end smartphone, great speakers, great screen and cameras, plus you're getting a monitor for your Sony camera. You're getting a system that you can use as a live streaming setup. You can take photos and then immediately view them, edit them and upload them to the platform of your choice. For photographers and videographers, both professional and aspiring, if you're in the Sony ecosystem, then this to me is something of a no-brainer, which is something that they offer over people that they're competing against, like Canon and Fujitsu and Nikon as well. And for somebody like me, well, I chose this over an iPhone, and that's pretty much one of the biggest compliments that you can pay nowadays. Let me know if you own one of these Sony Xperias and what your experience of using it has been like, and what you use it for, and why you chose it over any other phones. And if you want to take a look at any of the photos that I have taken with this phone, then my Instagram is in the description below. I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for watching.